Hello again. I have another story to read, another book. This book is called Frogs. And this book is a nonfiction story, a nonfiction book. What are some of the ways that we know that the book is nonfiction? Think about it for a minute. Let's look. I'll flip through the book and show you some things. How do we know that this story is nonfiction? Well, one thing that I see is that we have photographs and not illustrations. That's a hint that this is a nonfiction book. The other thing that I notice is that we have a glossary in the back. And if you remember, a glossary is like a little dictionary for the story. So it gives us some words that we are going to need to know and their definitions. Okay? So let's look at our glossary before we start the story. I see the word amphibian. The first word here is an amphibian. And it says they're animals that live in the water and on land. So a frog is an amphibian. Can you think of another animal that might be an amphibian? Think about it. An animal that lives in the water and on land. I'm thinking a turtle. Gills is our next word. Gills. They're the parts of the body that let some animals breathe underwater. So they're like little lines on the side of the frog or the amphibian or the fish that let them breathe. Hatch is our next word. When a young animal comes out of an egg, we know what it means to hatch. What other kinds of animals hatch? I can think of chickens hatch out of eggs, turtles hatch out of eggs, and it looks like frogs might hatch as well. Our next word is lungs. The parts of the body used to breathe air. So everybody has lungs inside their chest. And when you go, your air goes into your lungs, and when you go, your air comes out of your lungs. They're body parts inside your body that help you breathe. And our last word is tadpole, a young animal that will become a frog as it gets older. So before a frog is a frog, it's a tadpole. So let's take a look at our story. This is a spotted grass frog. Like all frogs, it is an amphibian. This means it lives in the water when it is born. When it is older, it can live on land too. Interesting. The spotted grass frog begins its life as a tiny egg. Many eggs float in the water. The outside of each egg is clear. Inside each egg is a tiny tadpole. So can you see those are all eggs floating on the water. And inside is a tiny, tiny tadpole that has to grow. The tadpoles hatch from the eggs. Tadpoles have small round bodies and long tails. Can you see them all in there? They're little black. When they swim, they wiggle around. They wiggle through the water with their tail. The tadpoles live in the water. They have gills so they can breathe underwater. The gills are right there. It helps them breathe. They have a long tail to help them swim. This whole piece is their tail. They wiggle it up and down. It moves them through the water. As the tadpole grows bigger, it begins to change. Look at that that's still a tadpole, but what is it starting to look like already? Yeah, it's starting to look like a frog. The tadpole grows back legs. It grows front legs too. The tadpole also grows lungs. So he did not have them before. Now he's growing them. Its lungs will let it breathe on land. Wow, that's pretty cool. There's a lot of information in this book. That's another clue that this is a nonfiction book. Finally, the tadpole's tail disappears. Look, there's no tail anymore. Now it is a frog. The frog has legs for jumping and lungs for breathing. It is ready to live on the land. So he couldn't live on the land when he was a tadpole. He didn't have lungs to live on the land, but now he does. And he also has legs to help him get around on the land. The spotted grass frog goes through many changes. So he starts off as an egg. He becomes a tadpole. Then he grows his legs. So he's a tadpole with legs. And then he ends up as a frog, right? And then it starts all over again. Kind of like, think about another life cycle that we've learned about. I'm thinking about the life cycle of a butterfly. Oh, and now we're at the glossary again. So think about what you learned about frogs today. We learned that frogs are amphibians. They have gills that help them breathe when they're tadpoles. They hatch. We learned the life cycle of a frog. So think about other animals that you might know the life cycle of. Okay? All right, I hope you enjoyed this little story about frogs, and I'll see you soon. Bye.